Hey guys, it's Marissa from Grow in the Flow, and it's another thriving Thursday. It's May 5th. So with the 5-5 energy, we're going to have another tarot tutorial today exploring the fives of the tarot. So as we begin, let's talk a little bit about the 5-5 portal and the energy that's coming forward today. As I record this, we're currently in the Eclipse Gateway, this eclipse portal, where we're moving from one eclipse that we just had with the new moon in Taurus to the next eclipse, which will be with the full moon in Scorpio coming up on May 16th. And as we've discussed, eclipse energies bring about some turbulence, aspects of surprises, unexpected changes, new beginnings, course corrections, and more. These things can be sudden. There's fast acceleration. And there's another word that's coming forward here, which is chaos. There can be some chaotic energy, some frenetic energy. And so within this current portal, we're having an opportunity to see the world through a new set of lenses. This is coming up in many different ways collectively and with us individually. And so it's a great time for us to really get grounded, embrace flexibility and adaptability so that we can use this energy to grow, evolve, and transform. So as we take a look at the energies of the number 5, you'll see how each of these pieces are all coming together quite synchronistically to really make for some of the big energy that we're experiencing right now. So let's take a look at the number 5. The number 5 represents change, freedom, expansion, travel, movement, adventure. Those who have a 5 life path number are often the rebels. There can be some detachment energy, definitely a need for freedom and expansion. Now, when challenged, the number 5 can present as challenges, chaos, conflict. 5 is also affiliated with our 5th chakra, the throat chakra, which again, yesterday, the topic came up very strongly about communication and that energy that is existing with the collective right now, the need for higher realms of communication on new levels. And so we're definitely seeing the energy of the number 5 very strongly. And now here on this day with the 5-5 energy, we really have an opportunity to tune in and work with it. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we're going to be taking a look at each of the 5s of the tarot. So of course we have the 4 suits of the minor arcana, and each one of them has a card number 5. But first, let's take a look at the very beginning where we see that number 5 appear for the first time in the tarot, which is in the major arcana with the card Hierophant. The Hierophant is the major arcana card that is affiliated with the spiritual leader or guru, with higher learning, with ascension. There's an energy of powerful lessons, enlightenment, awakening. It can also be the energy of teacher and student, of mentor and mentee. But there's an aspect of this card when we look at it here in the traditional sense, it represents too old systems or structures, things that are crumbling, no longer relevant. It can represent dogma, the need for or the desire to rebel against societal norms, a need to let go of old ways of thinking. It can also come up as abuse of power, stagnation, ego-based leadership. Any of this sounding familiar as far as energies that may be at play at this time. So you see that number 5 energy is really present right now in the collective. When we take a look at how it relates in the tarot, we see it come forward here as the Hierophant. Now we're going to be leaning into, again, the beautiful depictions of the tarot through the light seers, along with some of those interpretations. So here we see the side-by-side of the Hierophant in the traditional tarot and in the light seers. And I see that the old one, again, may invoke those feelings of structure and societal norms, different types of governmental or institutional aspects. But we see it here on the left as the Hierophant the guru, and this idea of the great lesson of the guru is to know that all that we need is within and to follow our own light. And so outside of us, we encounter others, but yet there is the true understanding that as we search for our divine truth, we start to understand that it really is grounded into our reality, our understanding, and that it is a process of ascension, and that we're all in different places along that path. But of course, we open ourselves up to the perspectives of different mentors or teachers that come into our life as an opportunity for us to learn through experience, through lessons and circumstances. And as we notice that there are repeating patterns around us or challenges, of course, it is through those challenges that often the greatest insights are gained. The greatest clarity is gleaned. So the Hierophant is a very powerful teacher energy that comes up for our soul's growth, learning, and expansion. So now let's take a look at the minor arcana. The 4 suits each have a 5 card in them. And just looking at these 5s gives us a sense of the type of tension or chaos that they may hold. We see here that there are scenes of loss and struggle coming right out the gate when we look at these cards. There's not much subtlety about it. And so enter in that cloudy sort of background, that energy as far as what's happening in and around the characters on the cards. The 5s are indeed all about conflict. Those moments when we're first put to the test and forced to struggle with what is before us. But these cards also, interestingly, they mark a middle place. So it's the halfway point of the numbered cards in the minor arcana. They start with Ace, card 1, and they go to 10 when it comes to the numbered cards. So 5 is that midway point. And they're showing us how challenge is unavoidable. In many ways, it's actually necessary to propel us on to the next stage of our journey. Isn't this sounding like eclipse energy, just like we were talking about? So with all of that being said, there's a lot of trial and error that goes on in the 5s, things to learn about. First attempts, maybe not always being our best or our most graceful, or failed attempts or things that didn't work out. Things that perhaps we're mourning or grieving or sad over, they can be kind of heavy. And yet we can't learn without making our mistakes. So there is this sense of, actively grappling with challenges are very present here in these cards. So we're going to break them down one at a time through each suit and see what we're taking a look at. First up, we have the 5 of Wands, and this is the card I call the stirring the poop card. It's definitely looking like there's a chaotic scene going on here. It's a card that depicts 5 people struggling with 5 wands. There's the energy of competition, of conflict, of some type of challenge, and in some ways being pushed by others, jousting, some type of, stepping on or stepping over others to get somewhere. But there's a definite sense of conflict going on here, and there's confusion and potentially lower vibrational energies going on. This is a card that actually did come up in that collective reading that I did yesterday about communication and what we're experiencing currently in the collective. And there is this energy of sort of going down into the muck and stirring things around and sort of getting distracted by those aspects in an attempt to emerge perhaps on top. And so this is a card that can present itself when there is some type of arguments, conflicts, competition, but it can also indicate that there is an opportunity for collaboration. It also the idea that a little bit of competition can be healthy. It can push us to become the best version of ourselves. So there's different ways to take a look at this card to understand that at any time that we're engaging in any type of competition or mental jousting or anything of the kind, that we're tuning into that energy being inspiring and motivating, not draining. Also, just recognizing that we each have our path, and it is not necessary for us to always get into the ring with others if we're just not on the same frequency. Similar to the 5 of Wands is the 5 of Swords. And this is the card where I like to say, victory, but at what cost? We see in the traditional tarot that someone is emerging the victor here. They've taken all the swords and the others are looking rather defeated in the background. And yet it's depicting a situation where that person has gotten carried away with their ego, perhaps their words, their actions, in order to further their own needs with some type of disregard for what has left others in their wake of hurt feelings or confusion. It's an empty victory, a hollow victory. And so we can see that it can show losing a challenge, some type of an unfair advantage on the part of the winner. But there's an opportunity here to kind of pick ourselves up and bounce back from this perceived loss, feeling like we've been taken advantage of through deceitful strategies, or in some way, if we are the winner and yet we're feeling guilty about that, coming out on top with something where it's feeling less than integritous. So there's an interesting energy there of how that can show up. And you can see in the Light Seers version, I love how this deck depicts the swords as crows. Here we come back to the bird messenger element. And I talked about crows last week as representing change. Talked about the blue jay yesterday as being a member of the crow family. And this idea that if our thoughts, the swords represent our thoughts and our mental aspects. And so here, if we have 5 swords, we can see this character as looking quite battle worn, quite tired, and they look like they literally have a headache with this cawing crow right in their ear. Again, someone else in the background touting a victory. So again, it shows us a sense of feeling a bit sore over a loss. And again, this can be even just with ourself, a battle going on within aspects of ourself, thoughts, feelings, in some way, feeling just really down and out from a very exhaustive struggle. So we can see how this card can bring about those aspects with an opportunity for us to, again, detach and cut cords with any of that negative energy, whether it's coming from another or it's coming from our own lower vibrational aspects, not allowing that to derail us, to take some time to lick our wounds and then to come back having learned from the experience better and stronger. Next up, we have the 5 of Cups, and this card is coined the crying over spilled milk card. And yet there is something much deeper going on here. This is the card of loss, the card of grief. And so whether we're looking at processing emotions that are necessary and a part of moving through a traumatic experience, through disappointment, of loss, and true grieving, or we find ourselves sort of stuck in a pattern of continually looking at the cup being empty or the cup only being half full, like an aspect of pessimism or looking at what we don't have. And I think it's so beautifully depicted in the Light Seers version, where we see that she is very focused on this one spilled cup with others that are all draining down into this place. It's energy that is leaving. It is energy that has moved out from cups that have either spilled, or perhaps those cups were never filled with the contents that she longed for. And in her reflection upon those spilled cups, she may not be seeing that just over her shoulder is one beautiful rainbow-filled cup that is brimming with abundance and blessings. And so this card invites us to take a look at nurturing ourselves, giving ourselves love, being sure that we aren't repressing our emotions, that we're giving ourselves space to grieve, space to release and let go, doing the shadow work, releasing ourselves from old stories and things that perhaps have just become so deeply ingrained, but have an opportunity to go at this time. And so, it really is a beautiful place to find oneself, because you're moving through a process of wounding or hurt and allowing yourself to fully feel that. That's the cup's energy, the water energy of emotion, in order to allow that to now go and drain, clear the drain. It's like it's circling the drain there, and then looking up and forward into the future of being able to see the potential that we really truly do have. And both cards are showing that, still having upright full cups around us. And so even though it can feel very heavy and all encompassing, we can feel through it and ultimately clear the way to a new path forward, because we always have blessings. We always have things to be grateful for. And even through the loss, we can gain, again, our greatest clarity. So that is the beauty of the Five of Cups. Now, lastly, we have the Five of Pentacles, and this is known as sort of like the on the outside looking in card. Looking at the traditional tarot, we see two figures that appear to be outside in harsh elements, wounded, outside of a church that's brightly lit, looking warm and comfortable inside, and yet they're outside in the inclement weather. And so this can be a card that speaks to financial or health difficulties, feeling left out, ostracized, everybody else is in and you didn't get an invitation kind of energy, worrying about your safety or security, which is all that Pentacles root chakra energy of our base needs. And so it can present an opportunity for us to ask for help when it's needed. Clear any energy blockages that we may be carrying about wealth and health. And so that's where, there could be some energy that's coming up to be cleared. And it's also representative of, a scarcity mindset, a lack-based lens that someone can be looking through, feeling helpless, being in victimhood, being stuck in fear and isolation, in pessimism, because we see on the left-hand side with the Lightseer's card, she's head down, sort of feeling sorry for herself, and yet off to the left side, you see that the door that she so badly wants to be able to open, the key is just right there within her reach. And so it takes a look at the perception of being on the outs, the perception of being alone, sort of like that FOMO energy, right? But, and yes, there can be periods of things being a little sticky or dicey, especially if it's showing up as financial challenges or health challenges. But it comes up, to face those things. So there is this aspect of needing to look up and to sort of use those feelings of lack as the fuel for us to chase after fierce positivity, to really look for opportunities within every circumstance, to understand that when one door closes, another opens, and to be able to flip our perspective and see that the keys that will help us to get there are always within our reach. Sometimes we just have to look at it through a different lens. So this is really a beautiful card that invites us to try on different lenses, to allow the unpleasant feelings, the heavy feelings that any of these cards may have invoked, to be the very thing, the symptom, the squeaky wheel, as I've been saying, the thing that gets our attention. I feel this lower vibration energy. I feel something heavy and dense. What is that coming up to show me? And allow that emotion to be the thing that directs you to the next stop along your path, the next door to seek out the key to open. The Five of Pentacles. Okay, guys, that was our pretty quick walk through the fives of the tarot and exploring those energies here on 5/5. And if you enjoyed this and you want to know more about the tarot, I am still gathering comments and questions that you may have, things that you would like to learn to put together a part 2 to the Everybody Plays a Fool video, which you can find on my YouTube channel. I've also put there the video from yesterday that was about communication. If you'd like to see that, was also a quick collective card pull speaking about, again, this energy of the five, the chaos, the conflict, and the needed communication. I thank you so much for joining me. I will be offering tomorrow a fun pick a card. We're going to lighten the mood, lighten the energy. I have a fun pick a card planned for tomorrow over on my Facebook page, Grow in the Flow, and we'll also have on my Instagram page. So if you haven't followed me on either one, I invite you to do so you don't miss out on the pick a card coming up tomorrow for the weekend energies. Thank you so much, sending you so much love and many blessings.